We are hearing a ZANU-PF member, a very, very controversial one, who has actually said some very, very scary utterances in the past. Utterances which can be attributed to tribalism. And I'm speaking about none other than Dr. Energy Mutoti. He has spoken against corruption and exposing the man who was also exposed by none other than Blessed Geza, speaking the language of Blessed Geza, exposing the permanent secretary within the Ministry of Finance, that is George Kuvamatanga. Remember, he is listed also by Blessed Geza as one of the corrupt individuals against Emerson Tambuzo Mnangagwa. Now, the mind-boggling question is Energy Mutoti crossing the line? Is he realizing that power dynamics are shifting within ZANU-PF, speaking against corruption? Greetings and welcome on your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, guess what, you become the very first one to watch us. So I'm opening the tweets here of this individual. Yes, let me just go through this tweet that was shared by Energy Mutoti. Now he says, the Parliament of Zimbabwe has received agonizing reports that Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. George Kuvamatanga, you remember Blessed Geza speaking about George Kuvamatanga, is receiving 5 to 10% for every payment done by Treasury. Gigi, as he is notoriously called, has accumulated more than 1 billion, becoming the richest civil servant. He goes on to say, contractors, ministries, and departments refusing to pay Kuvamatanga a kickback of at least 5% after receiving treasury payments have been denied payments for several months, even if the funds are budgeted for. Now, it goes further and say, over the past 6 months, Parliament itself has struggled to operate after being denied its budgeted funds by George Kuvamatanga, a civil servant earning less than $1,000. Gigi has more than 5,000 dairy cattle, dairy equipment, and several mansions, hence the proposed lifestyle audit. He goes on to say, one contractor, that is bitumen, which was contracted to do roads, has been asked to pay US 200,000 by George for every 2 million weekly payments he authorizes them to receive. And they have made several complaints to members of the budget committee at Parliament. Now it goes further to say, George has also made threats to send a terror team to deal with the chairperson of the parliamentary committee on budget, Dr. Energy Mutoti. Upon hearing that committee was considering carrying out a lifestyle audit on him, as well as asking for ZAC to probe. Now, this is very, very serious. Remember, this is a ZANU-PF member exposing, what we are hearing from Energy Mutoti. It is not the first time we are hearing about this. Remember, Blessed Geza told us about these issues. In fact, he is listed as one of the corrupt individuals among, he's part of Zwikanandas. He is actually listed in the list of Zwikanandas by Blessed Geza. Now hearing Energy Mutoti coming out publicly and also indicating that his life as well as the life of other whistleblowers are under threat from this fellow called Vamatanga, who is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance. I know his name very, very well because Blessed Keza called his name several times. That this man was a corrupt individual. Alongside also Mthuli Ncube, he was mentioned as one of the corrupt individuals around Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa, who have been defrauding the state. Now, Energy Mutoti coming out and saying his life is under threat. The very same person whom he has actually accepted to probe him in the parliament of Zimbabwe has actually sent thugs to deal with him. Now, this has never been done, whereby ZANU-PF go against itself. This speaks volumes of escalation. People speaking out. It has been retired General Chwenga who has been single-handedly speaking about corruption. And the opposition in Zimbabwe, the members of parliament, Yowende and others, Yosengezo Chabangu, they are very, very quiet about corruption. They have not even said anything about the details, the serious scathing details that are actually exposed by Energy Mutoti. It is ZANU-PF which has to actually speak about corruption, whilst the members of parliament, CCC members of parliament under Sengezo Chabangu are just quiet in that parliament, not being whistleblowers anymore, not updating Zimbabweans about this level of corruption that has escalated. I must tell you, if we had serious members of parliament for opposition in Zimbabwe, genuine opposition, ZANU-PF undergoing through this serious crisis, I can tell you it would have been another story in Zimbabwe at the moment. But guess what? They are just eating, getting salaries, only complaining when their salaries are delayed. This is the story that we hear from the members of parliament in Zimbabwe. They only make noise when their salaries are delayed. These are the questions they try to sneak, and they would make sure that we hear about those questions, especially during the parliamentary sessions. What a shame. Anyway, but the bigger story and the bigger picture in this is actually ZANU-PF exposing itself. It hasn't been the culture of ZANU-PF. Does it mean that Energy Mutoti is joining the faction of retired General Chiwenga? And speaking out, I know that it may have been for the purposes of security reasons, so that when any harm is done to him, it will be known that he was harmed because he was planning to probe corruption, which is carried out by the Ministry of Finance. Because you cannot say actually this fellow that is Mthuli Ncube is not aware of what is being done by Kuvamatanga. Here, what he has about 5,000 heads of cattle, and that farm of Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa that he is always showing everybody. Do you think money, considering how much he earns from the state, including in the car that is driven even by his child, whose only job and source of income is being a military personnel, and this time around maybe a board of Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa? Where do they get all this money? So Kuvamatanga, we hear that he is getting kickbacks if he is to pay a certain department of ZANU-PF, not just companies that are contracted by the government, a certain department within ZANU-PF, maybe the Ministry of Health, maybe the Parliament. If he has to pay something, he asks for 5 to 10% of the kickbacks. Where have you seen such a level of corruption? And someone has the audacity, if you don't pay those kickbacks, actually next time you request for funds, the funds are delayed. He never actually processes the funds. This is a permanent secretary in the government of Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa. Now that these revelations have been made public, the mind-boggling question is, will Emmerson Tambutso Mnangagwa act against Professor Mtuli Ncube, as well as also Kuvamatanga, I can attest to you there would never be an action. In fact, they may send Themba Mliso to defend them and actually begin to spit venom on Energy Mutoti. Of course, not a clean person. Everyone in ZANU-PF is not clean. I must attest to this, but seeing him actually making an effort to fight against corruption and taking into consideration which faction has been spearheading the issue of corruption of late, this gives us actually a clear picture into what is internally obtaining within ZANU-PF. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. To remember also to watch the album of none other than Hloniphani Ncube entitled Uthando Lwakhe. It's a spiritually fulfilling album, and I must tell you will never be the same again after watching it. Start with a video and you will come and tell me that you were not lying. Thank you very much once again. Let me love and leave you. Let's connect on the other side of the live broadcast.